Hi, I'm Pete, and I know it's International Suicide Prevention Week this week, and I thought to myself, and I was out on my walk this morning, and I thought to myself, gee whiz, I've actually been through the suicide, this depression stuff, the black dog that I call it, and how the black dog can really bark at you and really can upset you. So I thought, while I was out on my walk, I just made a few notes about making this video today, because if you're thinking of, if you're depressed, if you're thinking of suicide, please watch this video, because I'm an example that you can get through. Now, the video is for two people here. First one, if you're thinking of suicide, if you're depressed and you don't see a way out, then this video is for you. Secondly, if you're a person and your partner is really depressed or even having those suicide thoughts, then this video is for you, because I want to give you a couple of tips to both parties as to how to get through, because I'm lucky I'm the living example that I have got through. And the main thing is that I'm not a well-known person. I'm not a superstar or a star. You know, we hear these people in the world that are the superstars and have gone through this, and you think, oh wow, but we very rarely hear it from just ordinary people that are working and living life just like I am. So I want to give this to you so that you can understand the journey that I've been on, and that you will come out the other side. All right, I promise you, you will come out the other side if you look at some of these tips that I have. Now, every now and then, I'm probably going to look down, because, as I said, I was out on my walk this morning and I made a couple of notes that I wanted to talk with you as I go through this. So, it's great to be here. I'm not sure if it's great to tell my story, because it's a little bit embarrassing, but if it can help someone think, oh, gee, someone else is really similar to me to get through this, then that will be absolutely great. I've got to tell you, back in 2018, 2019, I had major league depression. And now I'm talking, you know, the major leagues, like the American baseball major leagues. I was working in a franchise at that stage, and it was absolutely and literally killing me. It was just one of the worst things that I was going through. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I really struggled to get out of bed. In fact, sometimes I would just lie in bed and say, I'll have another 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes would come up and I'm like, oh, I need another 5 minutes. And I could stay in there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just going through those 5 minutes. And it wasn't doing me any good. And I'll tell you what, my wife at the time, she was also struggling. I'm going to talk about this fairly soon, because the partners of people who are going through depression and suicide, they also struggle a hell of a lot as well. And my wife, she just didn't know what to do at this stage because of where I was at. So the thing is that when I was going through this, in fact, I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to see people. And the business was starting to implode at this stage. I had all the pressures coming down on me that I felt I'm not going to work. It's not going to work. So my wife and I, we had a chat one day, and I said, I've got to get out of this franchise, because if I don't, I'm going to die, quite literally. And we had that frank discussion that something had to happen. And I'll tell you what, once I'd made that decision, then all of a sudden the pressure started to come off, and getting out of that particular franchise was the best thing I ever did, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be talking today here with you. Because at that stage, I was actually living day by day, or day to day. And it got to the stage where I got down to living hour to hour. I would try and make it through the next hour. And bloody hell, and blinking heck, that was tough. And I tell you what, I started to contemplate suicide. That's how bad it got. And for me to look back now thinking that, I thought, man, oh man, that's a bad place to be. Just a couple of thoughts. I don't know whether I could have carried it out or not, but the thoughts were there. And I realised that I needed to get help. And it's when I got out of that work that things started to come right. But only because I had help from outside sources. I'd actually reached out for help, and I had to humble myself to go to people and say, I need help. And I went to my doctor, and I tell you what, I hounded the doctor to try and give me the right pills to try and help me get out from my depression, from my suicidal thoughts. And sitting here again now, I've got to say to you that 4 little words that I remember that I kept on saying to myself is that this too will pass. So if you're going through this stage, remember that this too will pass. You can come out the other side of this, and I'll tell you what, it is a great place to be. Now, going through it though, it's just awful, and I get that because I've been there. And as I said, when I was just living hour to hour, what I would do is I would say, when I get to the end of that hour, I'm going to give myself a little reward. And it might be where I could go and have a cup of coffee, a really nice cup of coffee, or it just could be I'll have just something really nice to eat, for example. But I had to try and reward myself to get through that hour by hour and get through that day. Sometimes I'd go into town and I'd just sit and watch people and have a coffee. And I'll tell you what, I didn't want to talk to anyone. If someone came up to talk to me, I'd go, oh no, go away, because I was just in that, became really introverted. But it was just nice to get out. And what the other thing that I found was really helpful was exercise. Every day I made myself, and literally made myself, go and exercise. And if you know me, I've always been one where I've enjoyed my running, my walking, my hiking, but I really struggled to get out of bed, as I said, and go and exercise. But it did help. So, as I said, I reached out for help. I didn't like it. I didn't want to do that because I felt that I wasn't a strong person. I wasn't a man anymore. If you're feeling like that, forget those silly thoughts, because you're more of a man, you're more of a person when you reach out for help than not asking for help at all. So, if I can say also, going through this, if you're a partner of someone going through this, then you've got to look after yourself as well, because it is really tough on you when you've got your partner who is going through this big depression. So please reach out for help for yourself so you can get help with what they're going through, because it is blinking tough, and I know that for a fact. Okay, an army will normally attack just before dawn, because that's when it's darkest. And I'll tell you, when you're going through depression and suicide, it's like being the darkest before dawn, wondering, can you get out of this? Where is the attack coming from? And that black dog that sits on your shoulder and barks, you've just got to wrestle with it. You've really got to wrestle with it and try and be strong to push it through, but with the help of other people. Now, the thing is that I didn't ask for help to start with, because I was trying to look after my own sanity, thinking, no, I'll be able to tough this out. That's one of the most stupidest thoughts you can ever go through. And I know when you're in there, you don't want to ask for help. But I'm saying to you now, please do. If you're a partner of someone going through this depression, the suicide, then just take the bull by the horns and you go and ask for help from them. The person may not like it at the time, but I guarantee they will thank you. Absolutely thank you for it later on. So do that. Now, when I reached out for help, I'm going to be quite honest here, I had my God there as well. I prayed fervently day after day after day. And I'll tell you, with my God and with the counsellors that helped me to get through. And yeah, it was a crutch. I put my hand up. I needed the crutch to lean on of my God and the counsellors that I had. And being dependent on them has got me through. Now, the thing is that what I need to tell you is that I went through 4 counsellors before I found the right one. So please, if you go to a counsellor and they're not the right one, that's no reflection on them, all right? And it's no reflection on you. It just hasn't worked. So please keep going to the counsellors until you find the right one that's going to help you. And I've got to tell you now that I found a counsellor in Faversham here, and I've got to tell you her name, Jan Williams. She is the most amazing person. And funnily enough for me, I didn't think I'd be able to utilise a woman like that, because I thought, I'm too much of a man's man. Jan was absolutely brilliant. And if I can, I'd love to recommend, if you're having some issues, talk to Jan, a counsellor in Faversham here, and she will be able to help you. And through my Bible readings also, I realised, God, I'm not the only one that's going through this, because Elijah also had major league depression. He actually asked God, in my life, that's really major league stuff as well. So I realised that there's people through history that have had the same issues that I've had. They've got through, so I can get through as well. Now, in fairness, I'd had depression back in 2006. I'd done this marathon run, and I'd run so fast and hard that I ran myself into the ground, and I was hospitalised in intensive care for 5 days just to get right. My rhabdomyolysis was huge. My enzymes had just gone through the roof. And then I had another bout in 2008 when my marriage blew apart. And that was also another major time, but nothing suicidal. It wasn't until 2018, 2019 that the major league stuff and the suicidal thoughts actually came in, and I was in a really bad way. And I'll tell you, there was the mental health counsellors in Canterbury were also amazing. And they've just set up a brand new system there where they will come. There'll be two ladies came and they spoke with me. And it was funny because I'd be talking with them and then they'd talk to each other about me. And I thought, what the hell's going on here? I'd say, hey guys, I'm in the room here, you can talk to me. And they had to explain to me that that what they do is they talk around me, about me, to me, to actually try and give me the appropriate advice that I needed. And it worked really well. So I was working with two counsellors there. Also, to start with, I didn't have the right medication that I needed, and I went through things like citalopram, escitalopram, fluoxetine, I think they are, but they can only be prescribed by a doctor. But when I was talking with the Canterbury mental health team, they actually brought a psychologist along, and she was able to prescribe some Britax, I think it is, which I now have. I don't know if I still need it, but I'm still using it because I don't want that black dog sitting back on my shoulder again. And I realise now that every day, and it's great to be here, but I keep saying to myself, this too will pass. And always remember that as your mantra if you can. If I can say again, just to your partner, if you've got that person who's going through this really tough time, you're going through it as well. So you've got to look after yourself and go and get some counselling or some help to make sure that you can get through it to help them, because you're no good if you fall down as well. So don't be scared to do that yourself. Reach out for help, because people do want to help. Okay, here's the crazy thing about it. And I had Jan Williams, my counsellor, said this to me, and she said, you know, if someone came to you and they reached out for help, would you help them? I said, yeah, of course I would. I'd be more than happy to. And she said to me, and this really, really resonated, she said, well, why don't you think people want to help you? And I sat back and I thought, that is just so right, isn't it? That is just so right. So again, I've reached out for help, and doing this video today is somewhat embarrassing. I've got to admit that, but I want to do it because of my fights with the black dog, as I call it, all right, that depression and that suicide. And if I can help you to get through your issues, it's going to be great. I'm now really relaxed and happy. Have I beaten the black dog? To a certain extent, yes, but I know that he's always there ready to bark, and I've got to ensure that I don't give him that opportunity by not feeding him. So I do my affirmations. Every day I do my affirmations. I'm thinking good thoughts because I know that the mindset, my top 2 inches, is the most important part to beating the black dog. So while you're getting counselling, also look at your affirmations. And I've got 3 affirmations that I say to myself every day. When I was going through my really tough patches, I was probably saying these affirmations 8, 9, 10 times a day, just putting the good thoughts into my into my life, into my head, should I say. And I tell you, they really help, because the subconscious doesn't know right from wrong. So what you feed it, it's going to go to work to help you do, because it thinks that's important. So if you're going to feed yourself negative stuff, your mind's going to go to work to make that happen. So feed yourself positive stuff. The counselling has given me the skills and the processes to continue on to keep going and not fall back into the black dog ways. And can I say, if you're contemplating suicide, please don't. Please don't go there, because it's one momentary lapse, and that's all it is. That has huge repercussions for the rest, well, not of your life, but also your family, your friends, your partner. It has huge repercussions on them. So if you're thinking of it, please don't. Go out now and get help, because that momentary lapse has such a huge impact, not on you only, but on your family and your friends. So I've got to say it again, please don't. And those 4 words, this too will pass. Because in an hour, when you get through this, and you think, oh, thank goodness I didn't do that. and I'm talking from experience where I had to go through hour to hour. And I read somewhere that high-performing people are susceptible to depression. Now, I've never really thought of myself as a high-performing person, but I kind of think I am. So if you're there and you're depressed, it could be because you're a high-performance person, is what I read. Now, don't read anything into that except for what I've read myself. Now, when you get through the moment, as I said right at the start, okay, I promise you it will be worth it. I promise you it will be worth getting through that moment so you don't do anything stupid, because it's the worst thing you can do. I'm over a year now, probably even more than that. I'm a year away getting out of the black dog, getting out of the depression. And one of the things that really helped me, and this is where I got help as well, because a friend of mine, when I got out of the franchise, offered me a job to come and work in his business. And I'll tell you, it was one of the most wonderful, wonderful offers I've ever had in my life. And that's another reason why I'm here, because I didn't want to let him down, because he'd given me such a wonderful offer. And going there and learning from him, and then just doing something different, and then implementing some of the stuff he was telling me and showing me, I thought, wow, I wish I'd known about this before I had to go through all this rubbish that I went through. But the other thing is that here's something interesting. Sometimes we have to go through this stuff. There's a reason for it. We may not know it at the time, okay, but when we come out the other side, we actually get the learnings and realize, hey, this was the learning. This is the reason that I had to go through this stuff. And please believe me on this, I never want to go through that crap again, and neither does my partner. And I don't want to put her through, or my partner, my wife, as she is. I don't want to put her through that. So we talk about it, and I'm actually happy to go and talk with people about it as well. So please, if you feel as though you can't take any more, you can't get through this, please reach out for help. Don't wait. If you're a partner, I'll say it again, go and get the help for yourself and for the person who's feeling depressed or suicidal. They are going to thank you for it. In the long run, it's worthwhile. In the short term, it's blinking difficult. I'll say it again, get through the moment now, because I promise you it will be okay in the end. I promise you that. Look, that's just my story. It's been a tough one, but if it can help you, then reach out for help, go and talk to someone, and be humble. Be humble to do the things so that you don't end up as one of those statistics that we don't want to read about or hear about. I'm Pete. That's my story. Please take care. Look after yourself. Be careful. Be happy. Look after yourself and look after your family, your friends, because you'll be the poorer for it if something happens to you.